Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin kneeled on an African-American man's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, resulting in his death. That man was later known as George Floyd. Find out what the verdict is and how Delaware State University students reacted to the news.
Unfortunately, that wasn't the only attack devastating to Americans. Physical attacks on Asian Americans have been taking place across the country. Learn about what's been going on and find out how college students feel about these attacks.
Graduation time is here. We'll tell you about what you can expect during this time and how you can better prepare for the big day.
Have you been getting tested weekly for COVID-19 on campus? Find out the protocols and steps Delaware State University is taking to combat the virus.
President Joe Biden is promising to forgive thousands of dollars in student loan debt. Stay tuned to get more information about when and how much money he's forgiving.
Delaware State University and many colleges across the nation canceled spring break. Learn how students felt about the decision.
DESU TV starts now.
Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin has been convicted of murder and manslaughter in the killing of George Floyd. Good afternoon. I'm Amirah Johnson.
And I'm Nia Pope. And while the guilty verdict was read more than 1,000 miles away, its impact was still felt close to home. Former officer Derek Chauvin was found guilty on all 3 charges: second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter in the killing of George Floyd. It was just a little under a year ago when protests and unrest rocked the nation due to the death of a black man named George Floyd. Floyd died after white former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin kneeled on his neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. I sat down with graduating mass communication senior Kaylin Pride to hear her thoughts on the guilty verdict.
I feel like the case, the protests, the verdict, everything that has happened has affected Delaware State University students because majority of us are students of color. We are the ones that are being discriminated against in the first place. So when things like this happen, we feel it because we personally put ourselves in those shoes. We think to ourselves, that could have been me, that black man or that black woman it could have been me easily.
And while this verdict is the first step to equality for people of color, Pride says protesting isn't the only way she's shown her support.
I started really taking more of a look at our Black-owned businesses because of all the police brutality and just discrimination that's happening in our country. I feel like in a way this was the beginning, not the beginning, but more of a start to highlighting Black people.
Pride also adds that with the Derek Chauvin case completed, she feels as though police accountability is finally being taken into consideration. As a matter of fact, the U.S. Attorney General has launched an investigation of the entire Minneapolis Police Department.
On the topic of race, recent physical attacks against Asian Americans have some members of that community on edge and demanding change, no matter the cost. The shocking video captures elderly Asian Americans being attacked in San Francisco in recent weeks. This attack left an 84-year-old man dead. The attacker was arrested. The racist encounters due to COVID concerns have many Asian Americans worried. Celebrities like Daniel Day Kim and Daniel Wu are also getting involved in ending the attacks by offering a $25,000 reward for information.
The recent attacks on Asian Americans have definitely been very devastating and traumatic. As a member of the Asian American community myself, I feel very unsafe and worried about my fellow community members as well.
To address the drastic rise in violence and discrimination directed at Asian Americans during the pandemic, the Senate has passed a hate crimes bill. In other news, with graduation just around the corner, many students, faculty, and staff are taking the necessary action to properly prepare for in-person commencement.
DESU TV's John A. Adams tells us what you can expect for May commencement during a pandemic.
Delaware State University academic school year is now coming to an end, and graduation is now starting for May 2020 and May 2021 graduates. With more information is Zach Kimball on guidelines how to keep us safe and new measures they've taken to have their first in-person graduation after COVID.
So the biggest thing that we're doing this year to make sure that everyone stays safe during commencement is limiting the number of people who are on campus, which is an unfortunate situation for a lot of people. I know people have a lot of people who would like to be there supporting them, but to keep everyone safe, to keep in compliance with the state required plan that we've put in place, it is limited to 2 guests per graduate. By keeping the numbers down, that increases the ability for us to stay distant, for us to stay safe, but that's certainly not the only thing we're doing. The graduates, they have to have a test prior. They're going to be following the normal protocol that they follow during the semester. If they're not tested, they're not walking. For parents, for family members, for guests, whoever you're bringing with you, they have to have a test result from the week prior, or they have to supply proof of vaccination. So we're going to have 5 graduations for the class of 2021, as well as a graduation for the class of 2020. So it will be a huge weekend with a ton of people coming in and out. So as usual, we're using Alumni Stadium. It's the best place to house a large number of people on campus. But because we were trying to run so many simultaneous commencements, we needed to add a second location. And so the second location is Tubman Laws Hall, the courtyard area there. It's a large outdoor area. It's still new. It looks very nice. It creates a really nice backdrop for the people who are walking over there. It will be under a tent so that we don't have to worry about extreme weather, rain, things like that. But it creates a nice outdoor space for us to be able to have that second commencement.
The state has taken many precautions to host multiple in-person ceremonies this year for the class of 2020 and 2021. Make sure you grab your ticket. This is Johnny from DSU TV.
Delaware State University commencement ceremonies will take place May 7th and May 8th and will be live streamed on the DSU YouTube channel.
As the pandemic continues to impact citizens all over the world, Delaware State University says it's doing what it can to help keep its students, faculty, and staff safe. DESU TV's Kanan Sims tells us that safety now comes in the form of a shot.
Twice a week. That's how often Delaware State University administrators are requiring its students, faculty, and staff to be tested for COVID. A move that DSU spokesperson Carlos Holmes says has led to a low rate of infection.
Basically a low number of positivity findings in our COVID testing, below 0.05%. And when we do have a positive result, we do contact tracing to ensure that anybody that may have possibly been exposed, we get them quarantined so we're not further spreading.
In addition to testing, Holmes says the university is also following the guidelines set by the CDC, including social distancing, wearing of masks, and prohibiting large gatherings. And he adds, it's not stopping there.
We started vaccinating people last week. We did the first round of the Moderna test last week. That was the first shot. We vaccinated about 400 faculty, staff, and students.
But even with these safety initiatives, Holmes says what happens on campus this fall is still unknown.
We're just going to have to see how this thing plays out. The important thing for the university is to find out how many people have been vaccinated, and to the extent that we can, make it possible for vaccinations to be obtained here on campus.
For DESU TV, I'm Kanan Sims.
Though DSU is not requiring that students be vaccinated, university officials say that only those who have been fully vaccinated by the fall will be able to return for in-person learning.
With that being said, DSU has taken new health precautions for all students, faculty, and staff living or commuting on campus. DESU TV's John A. Adams takes us on the scene to speak about the new campus protocols.
Here at Delaware State at the Bank of America building, where all students, faculty must come here to get their bracelet to see who has been tested for COVID-19. Let's find out how to get. To get the bracelet, you have to go to covid19testing.guardianhealth.com. You log in, then confirm the testing site that's here at DSU. Then you go on and proceed with checking to see if you have any symptoms. If not, you go get tested another day. Your code will appear. You give your date of birth to the test admin. Your test is scanned. You take the test outside, and you are monitored by people who know how to take the test. If not, then you put your test in the red bin, and you put your bracelet, and you go about your day. Your test will be available between 30 hours. Delaware State has a strict COVID testing policy. Students and faculty must get tested twice a week, and if positive, must quarantine for 10 days. Make sure you get tested, guys. This is John A. for DSU TV.
Speaking of returning in the fall, the semester is slowly coming to a close just in time for the release of fall registration and housing applications. With the rollout of the COVID vaccine in full force, the hope of getting back to normal on campus is high, including for housing. The semester is slowly coming to a close just in time for fall registration and housing applications releasing soon. Right now, according to DSU administrators, students who want to live on campus should take the necessary steps to apply. They add, students must first be registered for fall 2021 classes and have at least 12 credits. Students will have the option of picking which type of housing they want to apply for. DSU says housing applications will be emailed directly to students starting April 20th. For more information, please contact Housing at 302-857-6326 or email them at housing@desu.edu.
Student loan debt is now at a record amount, reaching more than $1 trillion in the U.S., according to Forbes.
It adds, the average student owes more than $30,000. One reason why some voters counted on President Joe Biden's pledge to forgive thousands of dollars in payments.
DESU TV's Kayla Jones shows us the impact of Biden going back on that promise.
Michael Anderson is currently a junior at Delaware State University, and for the last 3 years, Anderson says he's paid out of pocket for his education while also relying on student aid. He says he's not happy with the way the Biden administration is handling the proposed loan forgiveness plan.
It's annoying that we voted for him because of the things that he promised us. Now he's not following through, and it just feels like a big letdown.
A letdown Salisbury University alumni Alex Robertson says he also feels this way.
It's stressful, I'll admit. While I'm glad I'm done with school, it seems like it follows me everywhere. I've actually thought about the repercussions of taking them out, and now it's my main focus. Biden's help would be very beneficial to me and countless others. Hopefully he gets it together and makes good on his promise.
That promise, according to President Biden, is to forgive up to $10,000 in student loan debt as part of the American Relief Plan, with some Democrats calling for up to $50,000. Lawmakers are expected to vote this week. From DSU TV, I'm Kayla Jones, signing off.
College students across the nation will be eagerly waiting for the progress on the Biden administration's most intriguing campaign promise.
Up next on DESU TV, hear about what Broadway actors are doing to make a living after losing a year's worth of work due to COVID-19.
Also, is the Biden administration considering a nationwide $15 minimum wage? Find out after the break.